And so that was one way my brain functionality was impaired. Another way, and I didn't realize it, so the problem with amnesia is it's not like forgetting something. So forgetting something is like, oh crap, I can't remember this. Amnesia is completely different. There's nothing there, so you don't even realize that you've forgotten it. So there was like one time I was in this group meeting and it was stuff that I had literally done research on and worked on, like it was my job, it was my coursework and stuff, and it was just like ingrained in me. And I was asked for a certain term and I was just like, I have no freaking idea what this person is talking about. All right, it's like years of my life flushed out of my brain. And so I was just like, and I like left that group meeting and they're like, and my supervisor or my advisor was like, I know you know this. And I'm just like sitting there being like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, which, and like hindsight is terrifying, right? Like years of my life. And I don't know that it's gone, right? Until situations arise where I'm like, wow, I don't remember that. And not even like, I can't even recognize like or identify that I don't know that. And so that was terrifying. That was about approximately a year and a half after I hit my head, I realized that. And so I started reading up, so how am I functioning again? Because there was a good time there where it was just like the dark ages for me personally, because my brain wasn't working right and I couldn't remember things, I couldn't speak right, I couldn't form sentences, stuff like that. Or in a consistent basis, I couldn't actually finish sentences, I would drop off. And that one lasted for about 2.5 years, where it took me about 2.5 to 3 years to be able to form sentences fully and consistently again after hitting my head. So it's not like some movie where it's just short-term memory loss kind of amnesia, where it resets every day or every certain day, but there's no impact to functionality in terms of like speaking and movement and that kind of thing. I had that impacted. Yeah. So that kind of sucked. I was like, I didn't know that about amnesia, that there's actual motor function impairment with it for some people, not for all people. And then the long-term memory, how have I been getting over that? So I've been actually, for a good few years, I was reading a bunch of neuroscience articles. And one of the cool things about having amnesia is that I can read a neuroscience article and a bunch of theories are put out, or ideas or hypotheses, and I can go, that does not work. I know, because I'm going through exactly what this article describes, and I can be like, that's so wrong. And I can also take articles and be like, this is an interesting idea. I've seen this with my own, like, healing my brain. So there's some very cool kind of like, in science, it's like, how do you prove something? And it's kind of fun because I'll be able to be like, this idea is a good one. It doesn't work. Does this work for me? And everybody has different brain, like a different brain, so in different brain structure and different wiring and stuff like that, which is a good thing because a lot of people don't want amnesia kind of wiring. And so yeah, and so it's been kind of fun to go through the neuroscience community and be like, well, this might be true for some people, but it definitely ain't true for me. And just finding kind of, it's become a field that I wouldn't say I'm like well versed in, but I do know enough in to be like healing my brain kind of thing. And so that's been pretty cool. It was like, I still have not taken a course in psychology or anything like that. And so it's been pretty fun kind of like learning about the brain and I have a very real problem that I can apply this to and see if it works or not. And so that's been kind of interesting. And I've learned a bunch about myself. And what is the biggest thing to getting my memory back? Because I can remember my sister now and stuff. And I was the two biggest things are, one, going to places I've been before, like before my head injury, and two is in talking to people that I've known before the head injury, that kind of thing. Consistency, rebuilding those connections. And then the third thing is writing and photography. So I've done that for my whole life. And so, or since I was like 3, 4, 5 years old, I've been a photographer and a writer and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, started early. And so. A current trend for me is I would do, what I had is I made a bunch of words. I was like, all right, come up with a bunch of random words, put them in a jar, and then pull a word, and each day write a memory that corresponds to the word. And so I did that for a while, and that was kind of my starting point. And then with being back in Washington State now, I've been visiting places that I've been before or places I haven't been before, but just writing helps so much. And so writing about new things can help, and it'll jog my memory, and I'll be like, oh, this is kind of like this that happened. And it won't have been the same place I was, but I'll have gone to a wood chip playground, and going to the wood chip playground will remind me of this other thing that happened earlier in my life. So this is just broaching the topic of amnesia and my speech impediment. So this video ended up being a lot longer than I intended, but funny enough, those two things are connected, because when I got my amnesia and hit my head and cracked my skull and stuff, the speech impairment came back. So that was kind of a interesting thing. A curiosity.